France has announced a second national lockdown and Germany a partial lockdown in an attempt to combat spiralling cases of COVID-19. Leaders are urging people to stay at home and reduce social contact as much as possible. Each period of confinement will last at least a month. Measures range from, in France, a full closure of so-called non-essential business and only short necessary outings allowed, to in Germany, the German measures are a so-called lockdown light, where contact between two households is the maximum allowed. But they aren't the only European nations to impose such strict measures. Ireland returned to its highest level of restrictions on the 22nd of October. Its lockdown is expected to last for 6 weeks. There, no social or family gatherings are allowed in homes or gardens, but people can meet outdoors with one other household within 5 kilometres of home. Wales, meanwhile, is currently in a 2-week firebreaker period due to end on the 9th of November. The Welsh First Minister has promised that non-essential shops, restaurants and gyms will then be allowed to reopen. But rules on issues such as household gatherings and travel would have to be ironed out. Now, 2 of the biggest nations on the continent have joined their ranks. But are the measures announced by French President Emmanuel Macron the most stringent of the lot? Under the new restrictions coming into effect at midnight tonight, people across France will only be allowed to leave home for essential work, medical reasons and to do grocery shopping. Non-essential businesses such as restaurants and bars will close, but schools and factories will remain open. The measures were deemed necessary to combat a sharp rise in the number of COVID-19 related deaths in the country, which are at the highest level since the first wave in April. In a televised address to the nation, Mr. Macron said that France must now brutally apply the brakes to avoid being overwhelmed by the pandemic.
We are at the same point, overwhelmed by a second wave, which we now know will undoubtedly be harder and more deadly than the first. At this stage, we know that, whatever we do, nearly 9,000 patients will be in intensive care by mid-November. That's to say almost all of France's capacities. We've been surprised by the acceleration of the epidemic, all of us. I'm aware of the fatigue and the notion of never-ending day that we are all dealing with. But we must, no matter what, remain united in solidarity and not fall into the trap of being divided by poison. This period is hard because it challenges our resilience and our unity.